I hope nobody can hear the girl that lives above my apartment because she is going the fuck crazy upstairs, okay? Shout out to the COVID 19 for reason number 8,423 as of why it's insane. It has made completely together people do completely ridiculous shenanigans, included working out in spaces that absolutely should never be worked out in by people of civility. Okay. I just had to get that out. Welcome to On the Air with Kyere. I'm here, you're there, we're together. It's time for a super awesome I just want to start by saying thank you for listening to the sound of my voice. We are on the air. I'm your guy. Let's get it started. Okay, so it is the second freaking week of Pride. Now, quite an auspicious Pride month this is in 2020. We're rioting, we're in the streets, we're resisting, we're being forward thinkers, we're being critical decision makers. My people, we are doing the damn thing. Shout out to us, okay? But for the terms of this show, like I said once before, we're going to keep it light, we're going to keep it cool, and we're going to keep it on the connoisseur tip. With that being said, we're going to start with the first segment this week, something that I like to call Take Three, inspired by the group Take Three from the fictional show Star. I decided to take three of my favorite items, favorite songs in particular for this go round, but three of my favorite songs from the past music and just celebrate them. These particular three are super awesome because all three are actually experiencing anniversaries this week. Well, two of them. One was kind of celebrated last week because it happens to be Robyn's project, Body Talk EP Part 1, officially turns 10 years old on June 11th. But if you're listening to this on the official release date, that being June 8th, Kelis' super awesome 4th of July single also turns 10 years old. So, whoop, 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 whoop. Just want to clap that up for those two dance, pop, and international sound divas who actually toured together on the All Hearts tour in 2010. So, super cool, super awesome. And they both have anniversaries today. Now, those two are kind of tied in with one another, but this third one doesn't need any other association. One word, one entity, several names throughout his career, but we could simply call him the purple one. The Prince Rogers Nelson, the dearly departed, the Purple Majesty himself, would have been 62 years old this very week. This very week, the pop icon would have been 62 years old. His birthday is June 7th. Damn, Prince. I miss you so much. I miss you. I miss him. I miss him. Prince is one of the very, very few icons that are highly on my list that I just did not get a chance to see while they were here. MJ was also on that short list. I don't believe I would have gotten to see the This Is It tour. However, I was actually planning to see Prince at that last Fox Theater show in Atlanta shortly before he transitioned. Oddly enough, I didn't go to that show because I believe it was getting closer to midterms week for fall semester. And Prince was on tour, and I wanted to finally see him. But I actually told myself that maybe I'd catch another tour because it seems like Prince was on one of his acoustic stick binges. And, love the guy and all. But I just didn't want to see that particular show as my first indoctrinating Prince experience, So I didn't go. And as history and fate has had it, he's no longer with us. So, bah. But I say that to say the super icon himself would have been 62 this week. His spirit lives on within all of us. I know within the heart of myself. Without Prince, there would be no Vanity 6. Without Vanity 6, I would know nothing of Susan Moonsey, the Aquarius, who, if you give her candy, it would make her happy. That reference may be lost on many of you, but a few of you who are familiar with the super iconic 80s pop trio, Vanity 6 and the later entity Apollonia 6, once Vanity left Prince's camp, you would be familiar with Susan Moonsey. For years, and excuse me for being politically correct, but for years, I would consider Susan Moonsey to be I'll say guided energy for me, if you know what I mean. She's someone that I always felt connected to. I've always been entranced by the idea of the little Lolita, the barely legal kind of overly sexualized debutante-esque feel in pop music. It's a trope that has been utilized in several girl groups. It is a trope that most famously, quite frankly, it's Ariana Grande. I mean, if we want to look at the little Lolita tease today, the idea of baby doll dresses and a little bit overly sexualized boots and thigh highs and or apparel with having a little bit of a baby voice and or kind of pouty disposition. Let's just say there's a touch of that in Susan Moonsey, i.e. blueprint status, and I love it. But I say all that to say I love Prince because without Prince, I wouldn't have Susan Moonsey, and without Susan Moonsey, I wouldn't feel like just that much of myself. So, that's the first 5 minutes of our show, guys, and that is your take 3. So we're going to celebrate the take 3 with a super mashup of Kelis's 4th of July, Robyn's Body Talk EP Part 1, and some of the hits by the Purple One himself. Stay tuned for the next segment. Once we get back from a little word from our sponsors, we're going to talk about some current events. I really want to see what's going on with everyone. I've been watching and binging shows like no other as I await this quarantine to be over, but now it's my turn to tell you about them. So once we get back, I'm going to let you know about some of my favorite shows and some of the things that I've been super excited to share with everyone here on the air. Thanks.
Hey friend, did you know that On the Air is actually an interactive show? Huh? Well, now you do. So, I would love for all of my listeners to submit voice memos or to engage the show's content. I'm a stan, I call myself the connoisseur, and I can't be the only one like that. So, if you love your fave, if there's something that you'd like to talk to, or if you even want to submit future podcast show topics, I'm more than welcome to receive them. One way you can submit them to me, if you download the Anchor app. If you download the Anchor app, you can actually submit voice messages to me, and I can play them on future episodes and or include those for future interviews, which I think is super awesome. Another way, you could actually listen to the podcast via the website without downloading the Anchor app, and if you do it that way, there should be a voice memo option on the drop-down link on the page. So, let's get interactive on the air, doing it in public together. Hey guys, it's Kyere. I want to thank you for, first of all, listening to On the Air, and second of all, would just love to let you know that how I was actually able to get this idea in my head to On the Air. So, let me tell you about this awesome platform that is known as Anchor. You may have used the platform before for other podcasts, or you might have been your first time now for my show. But let me just tell you, it's super awesome, super effective, and can get you from zero to published in literal minutes. Let me tell you how. All you have to do is download the Anchor app in the App Store of your choice, or go to the website. That's anchor.fm, Anchor. Once you get there, create your login by using either Google or your social media handles and just plug in the information. It's as simple as that. If you can fill out a quick form online, or if you can fill out that voting ballot when it's time to rock the vote this 2020 election, you can definitely take 10 seconds to start an awesome new podcast, to share ideas, bridge gaps, bridge, and build communities. So, all you have to do again, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started to see, hey, this too can be for you. Peace. Thank you, everybody, for allowing us to have a moment from our sponsors. Okay, so as you heard during the moment away, I am accepting voice memos, future episode topics, current episode topics that you just want to respond to, or if you just want to submit a vocal note of love. I'm happy to receive it. I'm happy to share it for future shows. So please go to anchor.fm or download the Anchor app in your most appropriate app store, and you'll see very easily the voice messages option for you to submit notes to us. So, moving right along with the program, I've already addressed some of my longtime loves that are celebrating anniversaries this week, but allow me to also introduce some of my new loves that I've got acquainted with during quarantine. Try to say that 5 times. Acquainted with during quarantine. Wait, actually, I'm going to try to do it. Acquainted with during quarantine, acquainted with during quarantine, acquainted with during quarantine, acquainted with during quarantine, acquainted with during quarantine. Well, if I can say it, then so can you. So no one come for me for not saying it the first time. So, getting right into it, some of my biggest loves during quarantine. I'll give you maybe 2 to 4. Usually, I'll give maybe 5 loves, and halfway through the second one, get distracted and ended up talking about LaToya Jackson. But for this occasion, I'll only give you 3, and I actually have them written down so I can't forget them, even if I wanted to. So, I like to call this segment Whatcha Bingin'. For my 3 biggest binging options, right now I'm going to talk about a recent love that I've fallen for, honestly, just a few days ago, which is Hollywood, Ryan Murphy's newest Netflix release. That's 1. 2, Insecure, the 4th season. We're almost to the penultimate episode now, aka the finale. But, there's so much to unpack with Insecure. That's another one, number 2. And for the 3rd and final, the longest love of the 3 on this particular list, RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars Cycle 5, which just recently premiered this weekend. So 3 shows that are loves of my lives that I've gotten acquainted with at different points, but we're going to uncover and unpack together now. Starting with Insecure. Oh my gosh. Insecure. Now, for those listening, the show is currently in its 4th season. As of this episode's recording, I am with episode 9 as it just premiered last night. This segment's being recorded on Monday. So we have season 4, episode 9 of Insecure. For those that have not caught up, don't worry. I don't intend to spoil the show, as I don't really intend on talking about simple content and or dialogue. The things that are most exciting to me about a show like Insecure, which is why I have this platform and why I wish to present future platforms, where I get to really, really unearth some interesting topics about things that just make me think. And Insecure, for 4 seasons now, has made me think on a level that many other half-hour sitcoms of this generation just haven't been able to grasp in such a nuanced way, if I should say. For instance, recent shows that I like to consider as highbrow thought content, right? So highbrow thought content. Insecure, though it's translated very casual, the conversations are casual, the topics are addressed
very conversationally, I do think the level and the nuances for our generation are high. I do think the level of nuance for our generation is also high, let's say, in a series like, I don't know. No, I do know. Also, another Issa Rae executive production, the HBO series A Black Lady Sketch Comedy Show. That's another show that picks at social commentary in very interesting ways without saying, hey, we're talking about it. Let's think about it. Because at the end of the day, no one really wants to have to sit and give it an education lesson so directly. Unless they're fans of Blackish, which I'm a fan of Blackish, and I'm a fan of the Blackish Kenya Barris story type. I love the types of stories and the arcs that they choose to pull. I also know that they're largely educational, so if you're not looking for a lecture-based exposition, typically a show like Grownish, Blackish, Black as Fuck might not be your cup of tea. But usually people who feel a way about one are also polarized to be empowered by the other. So with Insecure, we are on season 4, episode 9. For those who are familiar with this episode, a long time coming. There are two particular characters that have been existing in such an interesting way with and without each other for so long now that finally came to a sense of understanding, or at least through, I'll say, the opening montage without giving too much away. Really, to be honest, I thought the shit was I thought the shit was a dream sequence. I did. The show was good for a good gag, and I really thought that opening montage was a dream sequence. So much so I held my breath until about 3 minutes in because I was just waiting on that snapback for when we go back to see that, oh, it didn't actually happen like that, or bitch, that shit just didn't happen at all. But with the Insecure, it seems throughout the whole episode that everything that happened actually happened, which one I'm kind of surprised by because the characters have been making bolder moves than usual without that little fourth wall of contemplation, if you will. I've enjoyed that. I've actually enjoyed that a lot. We've seen main characters make decisions that feel informed by character growth, which, only makes you happy that the characters are developing. Some more than others, because there is one particular character that the world is waiting to see what the hell is the problem with. And without spoiling plot, in case you aren't caught up with Insecure, the person's Molly, okay? The entire season, people are waiting on Molly to get her shit together. Now, there are flashbacks, there are some flash forwards, there are some wraparounds, and there are some dream sequences. So by listening to the sound of my voice, I'm doing my best not to ruin anything, but just present the world and the purview in which I've gotten inspiration. So, conflicts, resolutions, and come-togethers. In an episode called Low Key Trying. Ironically, Low Key Trying comes after Low Key Happy, episode 7, which came just after Low Key Trippin', episode 6. Wow, so much to say for episode 9. With a lot of the resolutions, or with the attempt at resolution, or the journey to resolution, I should say, I'm really enjoying it. Insecure is never been a show to mince around awkward scenarios. It's never been a show to mince around awkward dynamics or dynamics in which people have to rise to the occasion. I feel as though in the real world, there are so many moments where shit just goes wrong or moves too fast, or there are options for us to do things, and then they get somehow just a little too far beyond us. The showrunners and the writers of Insecure often present the space of the scenario without directly attacking via dialogue and exposition what's happening. So you get to really rest in how uncomfortable it must be to be in this scene. You get to wrestle with, damn, maybe I wouldn't actually walk into that particular place because that particular person is there and we might have a conversation. Because that's real. And usually dialogue doesn't choose to engage us. Dialogue doesn't choose to engage our problems. Dialogue doesn't usually allow for our flaws to not come at the expense of fucking someone else over, but just by existing. Sounds a little lofty, but I say that all to say that this episode, not quite a tearjerker, but it gave me a sense of resolve. I have a lot of questions going into the finale, but ironically with that, I'm not very excited for the finale. Insecure has a history of disappointing me with the finales and or not giving me that kind of plateaued finale extravaganza that I want. Season 1 finale actually gave me that with the Lawrence and Tasha and how, well, shouldn't be spoiler alert, but if you hadn't seen Insecure, spoiler alert, the finale of season 1, everything, the last 30 seconds, everything. I feel like now they use their formula to do the shockers in the premieres of the episodes versus at the end, though sometimes I hold my breath just in case. Well, actually, this episode was a surprise in the beginning because I held my breath the entire first 2 scenes because I wasn't sure if it was a dream sequence or not. So, actually, yes, we're still on it. Insecure is still doing the thing. I love that I had to even think about it before I considered the formatting style because they're that versatile. So, shout out to Issa and the crew. Episode 9, Season 4, Low Key Trying, was actually directed by Miss Kerry Washington. So, wonderful directing. I think that there are some fabulous shots. There's a particular scene in an undressed apartment that's really awkward. I love that scene. I think that for the whole episode is the best scene. The shots are awkward. They're stunted. They're a little flat, but not in the beautiful glossy way that shows LA in all of its splendor that Insecure usually does. You see a lot of those flat, kind of symmetrical. Well, no, I don't think there are any exact symmetrical shots in this particular scene because of some of the background instruments. But again, that's fodder for what's playing in the dialogue because there is discord and disconnect and awkwardness amongst the people in the scene. Oh my God. It's exhausting trying to talk about something without spoiling it for the people listening. And I can't imagine what it's like for those listening who knows exactly what I'm talking about having to do the rodeo. But send me voice messages. Maybe I can switch up how I talk about these things because I don't want to spoil it, but I do want to engage it. Or shit. Maybe I'll just say spoiler alert and those who don't want it will just stop there. Who knows? But yeah, that's kind of all I have for Insecure. I love the journeys that the characters are on. I appreciate what the writers are doing in the writer's room because they don't spoon feed dialogue to their audience. They present spaces and allow for people to engage it in their own true bias. For instance, I have a friend that feels completely different about one character than I do because both of our understandings of that character is based on our bias. And it just makes for great conversation. Yeah. Moral of the story, I just like Insecure because it helps us talk with each other. And I love talking with friends. So talk to me with how Insecure makes you feel on the air. Love that show. Moving right along to the newest of the three loves I'm talking about today for What You're Binging, Hollywood. I don't know if anyone that can hear the sound of my voice has seen Ryan Murphy's newest show, Hollywood, on Netflix, but I must say, next to Pose Season 1, I honestly think this is some of his best executive produced works. It has a talented cast, I mean, tour de force. Not super celebrities, but there are some A-list spotlights. You do see Queen Latifah. You do see Darren Criss from Glee, and also previously from Ryan Murphy's assassination of Gianni Versace. But it's just an incredible cast. You see a lot of newer talent. It is actually, let me rewind. If you haven't seen Hollywood on Netflix, Ryan Murphy's latest release, it is a mini series, one season, I believe 7 episodes. They're about an hour each, an hour Netflix drama. And it essentially retells many of the stories of the golden era of Hollywood. You see Black actors given chances that there were similarities to real life of the time, but different dynamics. Quick example. For instance, Hollywood knows, and everyone that knows the golden age of Hollywood knows that Dorothy Dandridge received the first Academy Award nomination, Best Lead Actress for a drama, 1954's Carmen Jones, directed by Otto Preminger. In the film, there is a movie about a girl that actually killed herself from the Hollywood sign. And this doesn't spoil the plot, by the way. But there is a film that someone is trying to write. And eventually there becomes an opportunity for a Black actress to read for and or screen test for this role. Something that I love about this show that made me really enjoy it, it's not the fact of the actual dialogue or the exposition of what's happening. It's the fact that for once, and maybe it's happened a few times before in a Ryan Murphy production, but for this time, there's a Ryan Murphy production that's choosing to be articulate about history in a different way. Ryan Murphy productions usually don't do that. For over a decade, I've personally felt attacked and grown accustomed to the attack of Ryan Murphy's storylines, writers' rooms, production studios to completely abandon everything that they've established to be true with their characters halfway through the season. So, needless to say, this view of Hollywood was actually my third attempt, maybe even fourth or fifth, but I finally made it through this one because I was looking for some content that was lighthearted, that played on a classic era. Anyone who is new to the sound of my voice will soon learn that I love the golden age of Hollywood. As twisted and convoluted and bizarre as it might have been, it was a time of great glamour, and I love glamour. The noir film allure is just the beauty. It's unmatched. So I love that era. So anytime that there's content that references past decades of golden era Hollywood, I'm there. I'm there with bells on. I'm there with bells on at the front of the line 2 hours before the venue opens for the show. I'm so on. But I really enjoyed Hollywood. I finished it in one day. It was a quick binge. I don't know if anyone else has watched it or what their thoughts were. I was pretty okay on the first 5 episodes. Episode 6, right before the finale, was kind of wonky. So I went into the finale not as excited. If you've seen the show, you know that the finale had, it's okay. Maybe in an overall grand scheme of television. But for a Ryan Murphy production, I do think it's exceptional. It's one of the very few finales. Let's see. 911, the original series, the first season finale didn't disappoint, though leading up to it, I was disappointed. and maybe Murder House, the original American Horror Story season. I think those are the only Ryan Murphy production seasons that I didn't hate the finale, or at least wanted to slip my wrist once I'd seen the finales, because they were such up jerks of what was supposed to go on, or at least what I had been alluded to from the world he had established. But whatever. On the brighter side, Hollywood, if you haven't seen it, Netflix, Ryan Murphy production, really good show. It's a quick watch if you're a queer of color, or if you're a person that just happens to understand and love queers of color. It's a show for you. If you're a minority that just actually wants to see what would have happened during the golden age of Hollywood if people were given proper chances, I say give it a shot. There are even some real world organizations, or not organizations, there's some real world accounts that actually show up in the piece. So I don't want to give any of those away or spoil them, but there are some moments to people that really existed and moments of their careers that we can all harken back to because they really happened, that are utilized in this fictional program. So check it out, you know? Queen Latifah, just a little spoiler, but Queen Latifah's character is Hattie McDaniel, the Academy Award winning actress for the film Gone with the Wind. And a lot of her scenes, you see her get to engage a younger blacktress about her opportunity to be engaged by the Academy. And though the Academy has a long-standing history of not making right decisions, I enjoyed seeing a fictional work about a real scenario between one real individual and one completely fictional individual about a piece of history that actually affected many. And that's why Hollywood is my second pick of the week for Whatcha Binging. Third pick? Don't get me started, because this too is something that's going to get so much of my time and attention if you all allow me. But RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars Season 5. Season 5, if you can hear the sound of my voice. All Star Season 5. Cinco. Cinco, 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 cinco. Whew. I feel like I've been waiting, what, almost a year and a half, 2 years for this season? They've put me through so much. But let's talk about it. Okay, so All Stars 5, a season that has been years in the making and probably even longer in the tank waiting to get released. I mean, they filmed these Drag Race seasons back to back and they stacked them in advance for us because, I mean, quite frankly, at this point, the Drag Race premiere years are 8 months out of the year, 7 months out of the year. There's a new Drag Race premiering between the original series, All Stars, and the countless spin-off shows. Thailand, Chile, they now have UK that has been greenlit for season 2. There was also the short stint of Secret Celebrity Drag Race. There's also mumblings of a Drag Race Junior competition, as they just recently released the photos from the first season of Canadian Drag Race. So there's a lot to discover with all that's going on in the Ru world over at World of Wonder. But for right now, we're just going to talk about All Stars 5 because, hey, they've decided to remix the game. That's right. All Stars has a new game going on. And girl, I love it. Honestly, it gags me. I'm not a Reddit queen. And for those who aren't familiar, a Reddit queen is essentially someone who loves the world of RuPaul's Drag Race and or they just love the world of spoilers. Reddit is an online site where there's a community of people that are super stans, super connoisseurs, and oftentimes they all know what's happening before the episode's premiere. So much so that the producers of RuPaul's Drag Race and countless other shows have since felt the need to alter how they produce their shows in order to avoid spoilers before the premiere dates. I don't know any All Stars 5 spoilers. My friend Oliver does. Also, shout out to Oliver. Twist, twist, twist. My best friend and artist and creative partner. He is, for all intents and purposes, a complete freaking Reddit queen. Yes, yes. If you can hear the sound of my voice, I don't care. The people need to know. He's a Reddit queen, y'all. Twist is a Reddit queen, and he is one of those people that will love a spoiler, but I will give him the benefit of the doubt and at least say he no longer ruins things for me. He only ruins them when I call with excitement, and then he responds that he already knows. So other than that, it's fine. But for All Stars 5, the All Star rules have been officially suspended forever. And what does that mean? Well, traditionally, every week, performers that are in the competition compete in the mini and maxi challenges, and the top 2 performers of the week go on to lip sync for their legacy, opposite of the bottom 2 queens lip syncing for their life on the regular season. Now, for this All Stars 5, what they've gone to do, instead of having the 2 top queens of the week lip sync for their legacy against one another for a cash prize, tip, and the chance to send the bottom queen home, they've essentially spliced it. So, though there will be 1 top competitor every single week, there will be 2 bottom competitors that are chosen between 2 different entities. So, for instance, top queen of the week performs and gets to lip sync for her legacy. Bottom queens are voted on by their peers in the competition. Once the top queen performs against, also a surprise, instead of performing against the other top competitor, the number 1 decided queen of the week will instead lip sync for her legacy against a lip sync assassin from the Drag Race royal family. Now, I'll go ahead and spoil and say this first week, the winner of the challenge, I won't say, but I will say that Evie Oddly was the returning queen, and the lip sync was absolutely one for the history books. I will say, if this is any singling as to what All Stars 5 is going to bring us to the table, baby, oh, I'm excited because that lip sync took me there. I didn't expect the queen that won this week to win. I also didn't go into this week's competition with high expectations for this particular queen. But Mama turned it. Mama turned it. She slayed the kids. You know, she exchanged all the Monet because at the end of the day, she took it home. Now, though she didn't take the odd one in the lip sync for your legacy, she did put on a great, great, great show and a wonderful presentation for the premiere for season 5. So for that, I will give All Stars a toot. A total toot, because the rules of the game are changed and everything is new. So for that, I'm excited. All too often does Drag Race get away with the same old storylines, the same old concepts being regurgitated, and too often do they pick the same types of queens to fit the format for the seasons. All Stars 5 seems to be an interesting motley crew of alum. So initially I wasn't very excited. However, with the premiere, the revisions to the rules, and finally seeing that there's some underlying drama between the queens chosen, I'm now excited. This is an excitement I can honestly say I shared for All Stars 3 initially, and a little bit with All Stars 4. Though I was really excited to see Monique Hart and Jasmine Masters back in the competition, just because I think those are 2 of the most unique queens in history. But that's all for Whatcha Binging. Those are my top 3 binges for the week. A new love, a not so new love, and a long time love that I'm still loving in new ways. We're going to take another break so you can hear from our sponsors. There's some awesome things happening over in Anchor. So we'll return on the air after this commercial break. Stay tuned. So, this comes to the end of our show. Most shows won't be this brief. However, with what's happening in the world, with the transitioning season that's happening for everyone, myself included, I don't want to draw this thing out too long. This is supposed to be a place for light, love, and excitement. I originally had 2 interviews scheduled for this particular episode, but timing just seemed best to push those to a later date. So, I look forward to listening to my friend, my brother from another, and a super artist that everyone should love to hear from, Jay Scott, on an upcoming episode. And I look forward to another friend and a great talent. She's a DJ based out in LA, Rose God. That's Rose, GAWD, also another bomb talent. I'm super excited to have them on the show for future episodes. But for now, I just decided we should get acquainted. I should share a few things, and I should implore you to do the same. Therefore, that's our show. I thank you for being with me. We were on the air. We'll be on the air much longer, much further, much more intensely very soon. Again, this is a show that's a building organism. There's no right or wrong way to do anything that is yours. And this baby is mine. So from my mouth to your ears, to the ether and to the universe, I'm signing off for now, but I'll be back very soon. In like a day or two. I love you for listening. Peace.